Hey everybody, very happy to be here. Today I have my very special guest, my good friend Stephen Wilson. I think Stephen doesn't need much of an introduction because everybody knows who he is. But on the very, very off chance you don't, Stephen is an incredible musician, has had more amazing projects than I can count, incredible things, and most recently has been focusing on his solo career. And here he is today with us. Very pleased to be able to hang out and have a little chat and have everybody with us. Hey, Stephen, what's up, man?
Very good. Likewise, thank you for having me, Jordan. Where was that? Where was that live clip filmed, by the way?
Where was it filmed? I'm not quite sure. It was one of the places that we were back in the days when people
Good
were
old
on the
days
road.
when we could actually go out and interact with other human beings.
Yeah, it's nice that we have these clips to remind us of such days, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm good, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. So I don't know, like we have so many things that it's from 2011. First of all, we can say that. That's when that clip was. But there's so many things to talk about. You know, we don't have all the time in the world, but we'll just jump right in. I mean, you and I met when we were both on tour together. You were touring with your band. I was touring with my band. And it was a long time ago. And I remember actually, doing the Dream Theater shows. And then, usually when you're out on the road, if you have an opening band, you're not really paying much attention to them. I'm sure you know the feeling. You're kind of like focused on what you do. But my ear was being caught by your music. And I remember, because of that, we started to chat and I met you. And I think we became pretty fast friends and found that we had a lot in common.
Yeah.
So that's when our relationship started.
2000, I think, was it 2000? That year was we toured together.
I think so.
I remember. Yes, I remember us kind of bonding over our love of stuff like Ortega and Aphex Twin and talking a lot about electronic music before and between sound checks. Yeah.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And we still love that. We still talk about
it. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, people always ask me, about where I think the music, where music is at now, what's cutting edge. And it always kind of comes up that I always think of you because, to me, the stuff that's really cutting edge, probably more cutting edge than most people can even deal with, is stuff like, Ortega or Aphex Twin or all that kind of stuff. That music is.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely live in an electronic world now. The sound of music has definitely moved more and more to, well, actually the sound of the world we live in. Let's be honest here. The sound of the world we live in is very much the sound of an electronic. It's an electronic world we live in now. The sounds that come from our phones, our devices, our laptops. Everything is electronic. We're constantly surrounded by electronic sound. And I think a lot of the sort of contemporary music now reflects that. A lot of music now, whether you like it or not, kind of reflects the world we live in. We live in an electronic world. So a lot of these other sounds that you and I grew up with are perhaps not so relevant to a younger generation who've grown up in this electronic world. But I'm fascinated with the kind of fusion of the two. I still think there's a really interesting sort of netherworld where, modern production techniques, modern electronic techniques can be applied to rock music. And I guess that's kind of what I've been trying to pursue in the last few years, particularly.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I mean, I can totally relate to that desire to do that because personally, I feel that particular fusion hasn't really been seen through, like that whole taking kind of the spirit of what we do, like in the progressive, world with chords and rhythm and all that, but adding the kind of colors, the kind of sounds that like you say, people are hearing and what's out and the possibilities. So they think there's a lot more, space to kind of like discover and bring in new kinds of fusions.
Yeah, and I think it's been tough for a lot of the older generation of not just rock musicians, but also fans of classic rock have found it very tough to engage with modern electronic sound. And I understand why. Some of it is, very kind of alien to me, very hyper processed. very mechanical. It doesn't have a strong emotional, it doesn't have a strong harmonic element, a lot of it either. So I think it's, you know, like you say, there hasn't been a lot that's kind of tried to bring the two worlds together. There's been a few.
Yeah.
I think bands like Massive Attack,
right,
and stuff like Boards of Canada, which is, to me, has got a very emotional quality to it. Boards of Canada. Also, people like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Actually, a lot of stuff in the soundtrack world.
Right.
Probably fuses the two things better than in mainstream pop music. You hear so much soundtrack work these days where, you know, they're kind of working with a sort of traditional music vocabulary, orchestral sounds and piano sounds, but then there's all this sound design element too, isn't there? Which I think is really exciting, and I hear more of that in the, you know, in TV and movies than I do, you know, in the commercial music world in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a freedom there. You're not trying to create like a song. Exactly. You're not locked into any particular genre. You're just trying to express a mood, and therefore you can be creative. Of course, the catch with that is a lot of times that music is really background like, and, you know, just kind of serving a purpose, which is not a bad thing. However, you know, like my main interest in my musical life is having it be the experience rather than necessarily having it play a background role. Yeah.
I wonder if that thing is a generational thing, that there will be a generation that's coming now of music fan that is more used to both those kind of extremes, you know, the electronic world and the more organic world of performers and musicians. Because I think that's been part of the problem. There's a very distinct, you know, the classic rock fan doesn't acknowledge a lot, I think, a lot of the time. They don't acknowledge the world of electronic music, and vice versa. But I wonder if the generation to come will be more used to that kind of fusion, and we will start to see more music that kind of fuses the two.
I would kind of imagine it, because our ears are getting used to such new sounds. Like, I was thinking about, I don't know if I heard this or read it, like you were talking about some of the new pop music you were listening to and getting inspired by, like Billie Eilish, who I just listened to her new album recently. And while it's not like electronic music, there's this really, really super high production value that allows her to be creative in a way that you couldn't be before. And I guess what I mean by that is, like, I noticed, like, she's so quiet, like every little breath, you can almost hear her thinking. Like, the production and the level of clarity is so intense that it reaches a level that it's a new thing. I don't remember hearing
that is definitely a new sound. Yeah, that's definitely a new sound. I think you're right. Even though the music is not strictly electronic, it has somehow an electronic sensibility to it.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the future, where you have a lot of music which is still played with real instruments, and you still feel the personality of those performances. But there's something that's it's got more of an urban electronic sensibility about it. And although I don't like a lot of that music, I definitely can appreciate it, which I think is what you're talking about when you listen to Billie Eilish. You can appreciate there's some real kind of painterly artistic temperament there. It's not just processed. So much modern pop music just sounds like a computer wrote it to me.
Right, exactly. And that's what
it did.
Well, totally. Like the whole drum machine kind of concept where you hit the button and it just kind of plays a beat, and it's cold and static and all that kind of stuff. But this, you know, the kind of production we're talking about that exists on a Billie Eilish album doesn't really have to do with that kind of cold sound. If anything, it brings you further into it.
Yes.
And I think
warmer. And I think that's the beautiful thing that's one of the great myths, isn't it, about electronic music, that it's cold and it's very, very exclusive in the sense it excludes people. And I don't think that's true. I've always found, you know, electronic music, when it's done well, can resonate emotionally as much as anything, you know, and there's such a thing as a very warm, inclusive, inviting electronic sound.
Absolutely.
And I do hear that. And I hear electronic music. I think the bottom line is it's finding music with a strong personality, because so much music, and I don't think it's fair to just say that about electronic music. I think music in general, so much of it is what you might call fodder, just generic. It's like, oh, it's another death metal band, or another hip hop band, or another, you know, it sounds very generic. And it's all I think as a music listener, you're always looking for that thing that somehow the personality comes across and kind of resonates with you and engages you with the music.
Absolutely.
And I think that's definitely happening more now in sort of electronic pop music, I think, for me anyway.
That's so cool. Hey, I want to talk a little bit to everybody, because right now we're like going out on YouTube and Facebook, and we have kind of this worldwide large audience. And pretty soon we're going to break it down and go to my Patreon only. So actually I should say that if you are not part of my Patreon, please do check it out. It's kind of an inner circle, very cool world, allows me to interact with all of you, and will allow people to ask questions of Stephen and myself if you like. So do check it out. The link is on your screen. But I wanted to tell people and just kind of bring them in like to our world, like together over the years. You know, it's been a lot of years and we've done a lot of things, but a lot of times through the years we've interacted. And, you know, just want to make people kind of aware of that and share that. We've had some fun. One of my great memories is when you called me up and you were getting ready to do a Blackfield tour. You were like, Jordan, we need a band, and the band will be you. So
right. How much fun was that? Yeah.
Right? It was really fun. It was nice. It was really nice. So I got to program kind of like, you know, a lot of sound within my keyboard and support you and Aviv, and that was really cool.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. We did some quite small venues. It was very intimate.
It was.
It was almost, it's like an unplugged kind of vibe, wasn't it?
Right,
yeah.
Right.
EU and Aviv. Yeah. Yeah.
It was really nice. And the other memory I have is that, if I'm remembering this correctly, so I think I opened up for you guys at some shows on a different tour, right?
Was that Blackfield also? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you had taken the band at that point, but you wanted somebody to open up, and you had invited me to do it. And so I got to go out and do kind of like whatever it was, a 40-minute like piano set, and then you would play. So we get to hang out.
Yeah, those were great fun. We need to do that again one day. Yeah,
I know. Yeah. We got to do that. And then, of course, you invited me to play on a couple of your solo albums. Maybe you can tell the listeners if you remember which ones they were.
Yeah, so you played on my first couple of solo records, Insurgentes and Grace for Drowning, and did phenomenal work on those. And the only reason, I don't know if people know this, the only reason you didn't appear on any of the subsequent ones is because you hooked me up with Adam Holtzman. Because I remember calling you up and saying, Grace for Drowning, after we did Grace for Drowning, I called you up and said, okay, Jordan, I'm going to go out and tour this now.
Right.
And I know you can't do it, but I need someone that can do what you do. And you said, well, you know, there's this dude in New York called Adam Holtzman, and he used to work with Miles Davis. And
right.
And that was a great hookup, and I'm eternally grateful to you for that. Yeah. So
that's one of the things I do.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, share the love together.
Well, one of these days, just for the record, I'd love to do it again. Yeah, I'm here for you, buddy. I'm here for you, and that would be really, really fun. So, and the other thing I want to kind of like point out before we leave the larger audience is that, you know, you do so many very, very cool remixes. And what's really fun for me is that a lot of the albums that you've kind of like brought to life again are the ones that meant the most to me. Mm-hmm. Like, didn't you do Freehand?
I did. That's just come out, actually. Yeah.
And, you know, today, I think today is the day that Freehand was released in 1975.
Wow,
so we're celebrating that, yeah.
It's a terrific record, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with that, yeah.
Yeah.
And well, actually,
Go ahead, what?
I said the funny thing is that I've remixed a lot of the Gentle Giant albums because I kind of do it as a trade thing between me and Ray Shulman. Because I don't know if you know Ray Shulman now, his job these days, he was the original bass player and one of the principal writers in Gentle Giant, along with Kerry Minnier. His job now is he authors Blu-rays and DVDs. He runs an authoring house. So he does all my authoring, and in return I say, okay, well, send me one of your albums and I'll remix it for you. So we kind of do this tit for tat thing, and that's you know, it's been a pleasure to work on that music. Terrific. Right. Terrific music.
Yeah. I'll never forget visiting you at your place, and I got to hear one of the Gentle Giant albums that you were mixing in surround right there, which was really cool.
Right. Yeah, I mean, their music is so perfect for surround because of that vertical complexity. You know, a lot of music, you know, a lot of progressive rock music, for want of a better expression, is kind of horizontally complex in the sense it's lots of bits that are simple in themselves, but they're kind of strung together. You know, that's the great Floyd thing, isn't it? You know, everything's very simple, but the way it's structured is what gives it its weight and its complexity. But Gentle Giant is the opposite. It's like everyone is doing different shit all the time. So it's that idea of counterpoint. I mean, it's a world I don't understand because I never studied music like you did. You probably understand it better than me. But that idea that you can have counterpoint and people doing different things, and it all locks together to create the whole. So in surround, that is a gift, because now you can put all what that guy's doing in that corner, what that guy's doing in that corner, that guy. And you can hear all the different parts and how they interlock, and it's really been a gift for surround.
Yeah, I want you to take one of my albums and mix it in surround. We got to talk about that.
Bring it on, yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. So, yeah, I'm going to actually, we are going to wave goodbye to the YouTube and the Facebook crowd and invite them to the Patreon, where we will continue our discussion and answer questions and hang out. But it's been lovely seeing everybody and having everybody join us for this chat. I should say, Stephen, is there anything that you might want this larger audience to know about what you're doing before we take off? What you want to leave them with a final word?
I'm doing the usual. I'm making new music. I've got 2 new records on the go, both pretty big conceptual, you know, works, and a lot of remixing. So what we were talking about a moment ago, I mean, I've been doing, and I've been stuck in the studio for the last 2 years. So it's been, in some respects, it's been a very productive time. So lots of things on the horizon. Let's just say that. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, everybody. So thanks for joining us. And now we're going to